Surprise, the Dell XPS 17 has been updated to the 9710, and while those updates from the surface may look pretty minimal and really not like all that much has changed from last year, I think when we look under the hood, it's a pretty substantial upgrade and a fantastic laptop in its own right. And you know what? You should buy one. So why is that? Let's find out. Ooh, that might have broken it. Did we? Nope, we're good. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. It's so big, we're almost pushing it. We made it. We made it, though, team. We made it. Welcome back to the You Should Buy series. A couple of quick notes before we get started about You Should Buy. One, I'll never make a You Should Buy video on something that I haven't purchased myself. For example, this is my personal XPS 17. And number two, I don't actually want you to buy everything that I talk about in this series. You Should Buy is more about the celebration of the positive things about consumer technology and the reasons to purchase them, and not focus on just the negativity that surrounds all this stuff. So with those disclaimers out of the way, back to this 17. I've been very impressed with this machine. I'm so impressed that this is actually my current Windows computer. Longtime viewers will know that I maintain both a Windows and a Mac setup at all times, because sometimes you just need a little bit of both worlds. It's how the world works. You should never be trapped in one certain kind of system. I was using a custom-built Windows PC for about a year, but it was too big and too noisy, and I like being able to take my WoW rating with me when I need to. So a few months ago, I moved to my Asus G17 with its Ryzen 5900HX, but it's been giving me some weird issues, so in the past few weeks, I've moved to this, and I could not be happier. And that's the first reason to buy the XPS 17, how easily this integrates into an existing desktop system. This baby is rocking 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, which basically, it lets you do anything. It lets you do anything. Each of these ports could handle data, display, power, and it could do that in spades. You could theoretically have 4 separate dongles running to 4 separate desktop setups running to one computer. Practically it doesn't make sense, but it's pretty neat that you could get so much into one computer. For me, it's just been 2 plugs and I'm totally set up. I have been using the power cable provided instead of running my power through a dock or dongle, simply because I don't have a dock or dongle that provides enough power to this machine. It's one of the things that you also have to think about with the Intel Macbook Pro 16. It requires more power than some of the docks and dongles you'll find out there. But keyboard, mouse, monitor, everything has been working perfectly, and I can't even tell the difference between this and like the much more powerful gaming laptop, except my rating has actually been going smoother. I guess I heal better when using the XPS. That's sarcasm. I don't heal very well at all. The next reason to buy the XPS 17 is the power. And that might surprise some folks, because this year, 2021 has been the year of the Ryzen power laptop. If we go back to the beginning of the year, everything that I was excited about in the laptop world was either powered by Apple M1 or the new Ryzen 9 series. And we all laugh. There's proof of me laughing at companies that continue to use Intel chips. So I'm not going to say that this is the most powerful laptop I've ever used, and I'm not going to say you'll be able to AAA game at 4K resolution in 60 frames per second, but this is way more powerful than I originally thought it would be. I think Dell hit the sweet spot here for productivity and creation power, combined with a powerful enough GPU option. I've got the model with the 3050 that you can get some serious crap done with this computer. I get that my game, WoW Classic The Burning Crusade, is a 15-year-old game, so hey, it's probably not the most intensive, but at the higher settings, it does have a decent amount of particle effects and, shaders, whatever magic stuff that games have that makes them work. It has enough of that going on that I'm able to keep a stable frame rate. And I'm pretty happy here. Plus, when we ran our benchmarks and pushed this thing hard, I never once saw a power drain problem, nor have I seen thermal problems. And for reference, I have the 8-core i7 model. This is just a really fantastically powered machine. And if you are benchmark focused, this will answer the mail in single core and, more impressively, multi-core performance. And the next reason to buy the XPS 17 is kind of in line with the power, and it's the thermal management. Yes, the thermal design of a laptop is important enough to make it its own reason, and the XPS 17 might be the best thermally designed large productivity laptop that I've ever come across. This is even better than the MacBook Pro 16. It has a full vapor chamber cooling system that is straight up amazing. When we talk about this, I only have words that sound like hyperbole because of how ridiculous this is. Not only does it have that vapor chamber, but I've really not heard the fan turn on all that high or loud either. Yes, there is fan noise when doing things like rendering out 4K or running one of those tough on the CPU and GPU benchmarks, but besides that, this computer is pretty silent. It's not as quiet as, say, my M1 Mac Mini or MacBook Pro, but for a Windows laptop, this might be one of the best noise-producing laptops of all time. And when I say best, I mean worse? It's the worst because it has no noise? And that kind of combination is what I look for in a laptop. I personally don't need cutting edge power. I need good enough power to run my video production and my project manager stuff at the same time, and do so without sounding like a hairdryer when I'm trying to work. And the 17 hits that mark really well. The next reason to buy this is the overall size of the laptop. I said this in my follow-up video a couple of weeks ago, but the most shocking thing about this and the XPS 15 is just how small they are for how big of a screen this has. This legitimately looks and feels like a standard 15-inch laptop while continuing to have that beautiful 17-inch monitor. It boggles my mind that I'm able to say this many good things about a machine, because normally you don't get all three. You have to give up something to make a computer, in my experience. If you want a super small and thin laptop, you've got to give up thermal performance, because normally you can't fit in a good thermal system in such a thin laptop. Or you've got to give up on power because of that lack of thermals. Or you don't get a small and thin laptop because engineering those other two things in is too difficult. Somehow they found a way here, because this easily fits into any of my backpacks, and I've had no problems taking this with me the 2 times I've had to go into the office since buying this laptop. This is exactly what I feel like a travel desktop computer should feel like to use. And while we're talking about how this feels like a travel desktop, another big positive about this machine, and more like this is half a reason to get it, is the keyboard and overall design of the body of the laptop. One, this is the best feeling laptop body on the market. I don't mean Windows laptop. I don't mean almost as good as Apple. I mean, this is the best feeling. This carbon fiber top feels so good to work on, and it does not smudge, and it does not get messed up like other brands out there. 2, the keyboard is unique, and I mean that in a good way this time. Normally when I say it's unique or special, that's not a good thing, but here I do mean that in a good way. It's not like other laptop keyboards, and that it's not clicky at all. This is like the laptop where clicking and clacking goes to die. Listen. It's not there. But this is like a smooth cushion that while you are typing, your hands glide across the keys, and it's incredibly easy to get up to speed working on this thing. You do have to press a fraction harder than you might have to on something like, say, a MacBook keyboard, and I do overall prefer the MacBook keyboard more, but this is very good in its own right, and I think this is a fantastic addition to the laptop. Why isn't this a full point then, Gary? You said 2 positives, but said it's only half a reason? My YouTube tech personality calculator doesn't compute on that one. Well, it only gets half a point because the trackpad is pretty meh. Yes, it exists. Yes, I'm glad it's there, but it's only there. The real problem you'll run into when buying one of these computers is the so-so nature of Dell's quality control. If you get a good model, keep hold of that sucker, and if you get a bad model, well, then I'd return it for a good one. That's what I did last year with the XPS 17 9700. I had a bad trackpad model, so I returned that thing. The trackpad here is good enough for them not to lose a totally arbitrary YouTube point scale system point, but it's not good enough to win them any of those fake points. We were talking about the size of the laptop, and I want to get back to that a second, because we only get a laptop of this size because of one thing. They shrank the bezels on the display to the smallest you'll probably find, and the display... Yes, the display is a reason by itself to buy the laptop. This display is huge. It's like a gigantic display that does almost feel like the size of an actual desktop monitor. And for somebody that grew up using a Tandy computer back in the early 90s, this display on the laptop is like one of those, or maybe even 2 of those stitched together. I want to take a moment to really appreciate the kind of crazy technology that we have in 2021. I mean, 10-year-old Gary, back in 1993, would have thought that this was literally science fiction. 16 by 10 displays are my favorite for laptops. All laptops need this, and if Dell has been able to do this for a few years now, I want this teeny tiny level of bezels and large form factor monitors on everything. Apple, make it happen. Please. Please, I'm sorry, Apple. I didn't mean to yell. I know I've said this before, but it bears repeating that because of how small the bezels are, when you are using the laptop, they really just fade away. And it's like a screen is just floating in front of you. And that's the coolest thing ever. It's like when you really get into the zone with one of those old Magic Eye books, Except that this doesn't give you a headache and make you dizzy when you eventually see, the waves or the car or whatever you're trying to find in that. If you are from Mac laptop land and haven't used a Windows laptop in a while, this next reason might surprise you. You can upgrade components on this laptop yourself. Crazy, right? Like in Mac land, I'm pretty sure they solder the case together, so even if you break something, there's no way to fix it. And I'm kidding about the soldering part, but regular folks can't really fix their own MacBooks. Right to repair is a huge issue, and I hope it gains traction soon. We should all be able to repair our own devices, whether they're tractors or computers or anything. If we have the knowledge and the tools, we should be able to fix it. But on the XPS 17, you can upgrade the 2 RAM slots and you get 2 M.2 SSD slots. But wait! There's more. Both slots already come with copper covers and thermal pads pre-installed. This is the trifecta of upgrading memory on a laptop. The XPS 15 drives me nuts because it has the same functionality, but it only has 1 copper cover and 1 thermal pad, so you have to source the others yourself. Boo! That is lame. As we saw in its dedicated video, I upgraded my XPS 17 to have 64 gigabytes of RAM, and I added a 2 terabyte solid state drive for about half the price it would have cost to let the OEM do it. I love that, and I will never not love it. And the last reason to buy one of these laptops is something that I normally lead with, but decided to shake things up today. The price. And okay, we do need to take a step back and preface that yes, these are expensive computers. That's just the reality of buying a premium machine is how much they are going to cost. But for the power and features you can get, I do have an 8-core machine with 512 gigabyte solid state drive. Originally came with 16 gigabytes of RAM and the dedicated RTX 3050 graphics card. That costs around $2,000. Compared to a gaming laptop, that's a lot. But this is a very small, very well thermally managed, and very powerful work laptop that's absolutely competitively priced. So I think that is better and well worth it over a gaming laptop. And it beats the current MacBook Pro 16 by $400 to $500, and I would venture that it will continue to beat the newer version when it comes out later this year. But at the end of the day, so what, right? No matter the name of the video, I absolutely recommend the XPS 17. And what's cool is there isn't really a but or a hesitation to that either. I don't have like a list of things in front of that saying, well, if you have this specific need, this specific need, this specific need, well then yeah, I recommend this. If you need a powerful work or creative computer and you aren't married to the Apple ecosystem, this is the one to get. I've thoroughly enjoyed using mine, and I'm so happy that I bought this. I've tried out a ton of laptops this year. I've spent ridiculous amounts of money on laptops to show you all this year. And I'd have to say, of all of those, the M1 MacBook Air and the Dell XPS 17 are currently tied for me as my favorites overall. It even had, look, this thing even has an SD card slot. How can we be mad at a laptop with an SD card slot? I can't be mad at a laptop like that. And if you like this video and you want to see how this compares to its smaller sibling, the XPS 15, good news! I've got a video just for you that you can find by clicking right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.